Please be seated. The Perth Royal Commission sits, Perth Casino Royal Commission sits this afternoon to take the evidence of Trevor Fisher. Mr. Fisher, would you please step forward to the witness box? Sorry, just before he's sworn in. Do you have any legal representation, Mr. Fisher? No. If that's the case, Ms. Pollock, would you just like to take a seat? Mr. Fisher, would you please like to take a seat, and I will explain to you the process this afternoon. So, no, yes, just take a seat there. No, take a seat there, that's fine. So, first thing that will happen is that you will be asked to take either the oath or the affirmation. After you have done that, I will then ask you to identify the statement that you prepared at the request of the Royal Commission and tell me whether it is the truth or not, and I will ask you whether there is anything you want to add or change to that statement. Once that process has gone through, that statement will then be tendered in evidence in the Commission. Pardon me. Once that has happened, counsel assisting the Royal Commission, Mr. Sharp, who's sitting at my far left at the front bar table, will ask you some questions. After he has finished, counsel at the back bar table and Mr. Sadler, who's at the front right, will also have the opportunity, if they wish to take advantage of it, to ask you some questions. Can I just identify for your purposes who is active at the moment? So Mr. Sadler at the front right bar table acts for some other former members of the Gaming and Wagering Commission and some present members of the Gaming and Wagering Commission. Ms. Seawood at the back bar table acts for the department. Mr. Malone, who is sitting on her left, acts for Mr. Connolly, Michael Connolly, and
Russell.
Mr. Russell, who's sitting at the far right at the back bar table, acts for Crown and its associated entities. That's correct, isn't it, Mr.
It is. Thank you, Commissioner.
Russell?
Mr. Furios.
Thank you. When all council have been given an opportunity to ask you some questions, Mr. Murphy, the other commissioner who's sitting today, and or myself may ask you some questions to clarify your evidence. And that then I think will complete your evidence. It sounds rather daunting, but you know, we will finish sort of clear easily this afternoon, so don't worry about that. At the end of that process, I will explain to you a bit further about when you will be released from your summons, but don't worry about that now. The only other thing that I wanted to say was that council may show you documents or refer to documents. If you want to see a document that's not being shown to you before you answer a question, then simply ask to be able to look at that document and we'll do our best to find it for you.
Okay.
The important thing is that you give evidence to the best of your recollection, which with as much assistance as we can provide to refresh your memory about the events you're being asked about. If you need a break at any time, just let me know and we'll have a break. There's no difficulty with that. Lastly, is there anything you would like to ask me about the process before we begin?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Please, would you now stand, Mr. Fisher? Would you state your full name for the Commission?
My name is Trevor James Fisher.
And would you like to take the oath or the affirmation?
The affirmation, thank you.
Right. Please read out loud the card.
Please, I, Trevor Fisher, sincerely declare and affirm that the evidence that I give to the Commission shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. Please take your seat. Now, could we have up on the screen the statement that Mr. Fisher has provided? And can we have, I don't know if there's more than well, there's obviously more than one page, but can we have the pages on this? Looking at that document, and in particular the information provided in red, is that the statement which you have provided to the Royal Commission at its request?
Yes, that is.
Is there anything in there that is incorrect which you would like to correct now?
No, that's a true, correct record. Thank you.
And is there anything you'd like to add to that?
No.
And is the information you have inserted into that document true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Then that statement will become an exhibit with the number WIT stop 0003 stop 0001 stop 0001. Thank you. Mr. Sharp.
Thank you, Commissioner. Mr. Fisher, you're a former member of the Gaming and Wagering Commission of Western Australia,
Yes, that's correct.
and you were a member of the GWC from the 27th of March 2012 to 31 December 2017.
Yes.
I'd like to ask you some questions about how you came to be appointed to the GWC. When were you first approached about joining the GWC?
Probably the latter part of 2011.
And who approached you?
The Minister for Sport and Recreation at the time.
Do you recall who that was?
That was Mr. Terry Waldron.
And do you know how Mr. Waldron came to approach you? Had you previously registered an interest with joining a board in Western Australia, or?
No, I hadn't, but I knew him from a long time ago, and he had recognised my contribution to community events back in Kojonup and surrounds, and thought I'd be, with my experience with dealing with the general public, would be good for this position.
And when you were approached by the then minister, did the minister give a description of the role to you, of what being a member of the GWC would entail?
Oh, very briefly.
Do you recall what the description was?
No, I can't.
And when you decided to accept the invitation to become a member of the GWC, why did you accept that invitation?
I just thought I had some lifelong experience of dealing with public and sporting events, and with the liquor side of it, not so much the gaming side of it, the liquor side of it with sporting events and things like that in the country. And I thought, this is a good opportunity. I might better further my experiences and also help the general public.
And so I think you've already touched on this to an extent, but what did you think you would bring to the role? What would you bring to the role?
Just a general common sense approach.
And at that time, you didn't have any specific experience or qualifications in casinos or regulation of casinos or casino gaming?
No, but in my statement you'll see that there's we were involved with an off-farm investment, and that was the West Australian and South Australian border village. We had poker machines there, and I was a silent partner. There was, I think it was 6 families, and one of the members was in charge of the whole show, and we had managers. So as far as I was concerned with those machines, I was a distant, I had nothing to do with them.
And did you have an induction session after you'd agreed to join the GWC?
Not that I can remember.
And do you remember when you started at the GWC, if you were given any information about the role and responsibilities of the GWC?
Yeah, I can't remember very much about it, but
now, how often did the GWC meet?
We met monthly. I think it was the third Tuesday of the month.
And did you have to travel in for those meetings?
Yeah, during that time we were living in Busselton, and I'm still living in Busselton, and we used to travel up either the night before and go home the day of the meeting.
And in answer to question 6, what's stated there is that leading up to each meeting you'd spend about 1.5 to 3 hours reading the minutes. But I take it what you mean there is 1.5 to 3 hours reading the board papers.
Yes, that was sent out to us a few days before. Yeah.
And how long? Sorry, and you've indicated the meetings took an hour or two.
Yes. 2 hours would have been the maximum.
And apart from reading the papers to prepare for the meeting and attending the meeting, did you do anything else in between those meetings in respect of your duties or responsibilities as a GWC member?
No, not usually.
So didn't speak to officers of the department in between meetings?
No.
And you didn't speak to other members in between meetings?
No.
So the business was transacted at the meeting?
Yes, it was yeah.
And during your time on the GWC, you've indicated that you didn't consider that you'd been instructed in the performance of your duties or the exercise of your powers as a member of the Commission, is that correct?
Yeah.
And that you didn't consider that the GWC as a body had been obstructed in the exercise of its powers or responsibilities?
No, I don't think we were.
Turning then to some specific issues and how the board, or how you but also the GWC as a body saw those issues. You've said it, paragraph 11B, that you recall as a board being made aware of the potential for junket operations, but money laundering was not discussed.
That's correct.
What was your understanding of GWC's role in respect of junket operations?
Michael Connolly had pointed out to us that this was happening. The junkets were bringing the high rollers in, and that's about the extent of it, really. We just knew, but the money laundering side of it never came into the discussion.
And on the question of junkets, what, if any, processes or procedures were in place in respect of junkets? So, for example, was there any notification of the GWC to the GWC about junket operations from the Perth Casino?
No, I can't recall any.
So then you also mentioned money laundering, and you've said that money laundering wasn't discussed in your witness statement.
No.
So in the time that you were on the GWC, is it correct to say that money laundering simply was never an issue that was raised at a GWC meeting?
True. Yeah.
And during your time on the GWC, are you aware whether the GWC had responsibility for licensing casino employees?
Yeah, we had the ability to take the licence off a member if they had done a misdemeanour.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what do you understand to be the reason for the GWC having the power to be able to licence or take a licence off a casino employee?
I think that's probably one of the most important things of the GWC, having a bit of a control over the casino, to see if someone's been naughty at a table. And to be able to suspend them, which we did at times.
And so you said it's important to be able to suspend someone if they've been being naughty at the table. What do you mean by being naughty at the table?
That's a good question. I can't recall exactly what we suspended them for. No, it won't come to me.
In general terms,
It was
what
just-
do you mean by being naughty at the table? What do you mean by that?
Rolling the dice too late, i.e., or something like that, consistently. Yeah, no, it won't come to me.
Is it concerned with their?
It was
they
concerned
weren't complying with rules?
with the gambling rules, the gaming rules at the tables.
And who set the rules that they were meant to comply with?
Crown. Yeah, and it was also the gaming boss, the pit boss. You know, it was up to him to, or her, to keep an eye on them. The dealers, I mean.
So moving then to some other issues, when you were on the GWC, did you understand that GWC had a role or responsibility to prevent criminal elements from infiltrating the casino?
No, not as such. No.
And did you understand that GWC had a role or responsibility in respect of problem gambling or gambling addiction?
Yes.
And what was the GWC's role?
GWC, I think there was members of the GWC committee on another board that looked into that side of it.
Do you remember what that other board was called?
Problem gaming, I think.
And who were the members from your committee? Do you recall who?
I have a feeling it might have been Barry Sargent was the chair, and I don't know who the other members were.
So there was the other board that looked at problem gaming, and so far as the GWC itself was concerned, was the GWC itself concerned with problem gambling and gambling addiction?
I would say probably not, but that committee that you mentioned before, they would report back to us periodically and say what was going on, and we'd get a report of problem gambling on each agenda paper.
Turning to another topic, when you were on the GWC, did you understand that the GWC had a role or responsibility to assess the suitability of the company holding the gaming licence for the Perth Casino?
No, not really.
Or whether it had a responsibility to assess the suitability of those who are associated with the company who had the licence for the casino?
No.
So then turning to the question of support from the department, the answers that you give at witness statement 12 to 14 deal with that issue. I'll just ask you some questions about that issue. Did you consider that the GWC was well supported by the department?
Yeah.
And the chairperson of the GWC was also the Director General of the department, is that correct?
Repeat that, please.
The chairperson of the GWC
Yeah.
was also the Director General of the
Yes.
department? Yes. And do you think it would have been better, or it would be better now, if the chairperson was independent of the department?
No, I don't think so. No, I don't think it'd be any difference.
Now I'd like to take you to issues regarding the regulatory approach and some regulatory changes that were made as regards regulation of the casino during the time you were on the board. Call up GWC 0002 0016 0150. You've been provided with some documents. I appreciate you may not have had a long time to look at them. So to the extent you want to read through things, feel free to just ask for time to look at things, to look at the documents. These are the board papers for the GWC meeting for the 23rd of June 2015. Can we please go to page 57? So I think you might have that in hard copy as well, but it might be more convenient to... Does he
This one?
Sorry, no, you don't. I'm sorry. I've misspoken. So if you look at the one on the screen. So this is an agenda item dated the 17th of June 2015, and it contains a recommendation that the Commission resolve to approve the 2015-2016 casino compliance strategy. And I'll just ask you to read the first paragraph, and then I'll take you to the minutes so I can show you that this was adopted.
Good.
We'll come back to this document. So just take a moment to read that first paragraph.
Yeah, okay.
So now call up GWC 0002 0016 0151. So these are the minutes of the GWC meeting on the 23rd of June 2015. And please go to page 3. Page 3. We look to agenda item 6.3. See, it's headed compliance strategy, and there's a resolution to approve the 2015-2016 casino compliance strategy. Do you see that?
Yes.
So do you accept that the casino compliance strategy, which we were just looking at, has been approved by the GWC?
Yes.
Commissioners, I mark that document for identification, the minutes of the 23rd of June 2015.
The document with that number will be marked for identification.
So can we please then return to GWC 0002 0016 0150 and back to page 57. Now I'm going to, Mr. Fisher, take you through some parts of this document.
Yep.
But just to explain the purpose for going through this and the questions that I'm going to ask you about is what I'm seeking to, what I'll be asking you questions about will be whether this compliance strategy set a different compliance approach, or if it was consistent with the previous compliance approach. But I think in fairness to you, we need to probably at least go through some of the parts of the document to help you to refresh your memory about this, and then I'll ask you some questions. I'll take you through some key parts, and if you feel like you'd like some time to read it to yourself before I ask you some questions, then we can give you a moment to read it. So just taking over the page to page 58. So you see this is a document titled Casino Compliance Strategy. Just draw your attention to, refers to the objectives of the strategy are, and I'll just ask you to read those objectives.
Yep. Yes.
And then under the heading, how the Commission will achieve these objectives, just a note, the first sentence is the Commission utilises officers from the Department of Racing, Gaming and Liquor, the Department, to conduct compliance and related activities relating to casino gaming operation. Do you see that?
Yes.
And then if we go down to how the Department will achieve these objectives, there's a statement, the Department will take a proactive and risk-based approach in targeting continuing and operational compliance activity at the areas of highest risk, considering both the likelihood and consequence of unwanted or unlawful activity. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
And then if we go to the foot of the page, we can see this is headed what the Department will do. And there's a statement that the Department will conduct appropriate activities within elements of the casino gaming operation to monitor compliance and to provide assurance to the Commission in relation to the casino licensee compliance with requirements.
Yes.
And then if we go over the page, I'll just draw attention to the fact that there's headings, casino table games, electronic gaming machines, casino revenue and tax, surveillance, security. And can you bring up the next page and have that side by side? And over the page, controlled contracts and approved suppliers and casino employee licensing. And you'll note that under each of those headings, one of the bullet points is audits and inspections.
Yes.
So then if we turn to the middle of the second page that's shown on the screen, what are our priorities? I'll just ask you to read to the end of that page to yourself.
Yes.
The question that I wanted to ask about is whether this, whether you understood this compliance. Well, firstly, do you recall the discussion that was had around this compliance paper?
Briefly.
And is it your understanding that this compliance paper was intended to mark a change in approach to compliance, or was it just a statement of business as usual?
My thoughts on this were that this is going to make the department, the casino and the department, more accountable to us, the GWC. That's the way I saw it all the way along.
And did you understand that this paper was marking a move towards a risk-based approach to regulation, which may not have been the previous approach?
No.
No, so you didn't understand this to be a change in the approach? Go to another document now. Oh, sorry, before I do that, I'll just ask the Commission to mark for identification GWC 002 00160150 at pages 57 to 61.
Those documents with the number will be marked for identification.
So now I'd like to go to another document. Can we call up GWC 002 00160155? You can see that this is the board papers for the 25th of August 2015 meeting. Do you see that?
Yep.
It should be on the screen, yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Can we turn to page 17, please? So this is an agenda item 6.2 from that board paper pack. I'll just ask you to read to yourself the recommendation.
Yes.
So do you accept that this is a recommendation to remove a dedicated presence of casino inspectors for 20.5 hours a day?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was to take effect from the 1st of September 2015?
Yes. I think the third dot down in that ensuring that the number of scope of audits and inspections meets budgeted, KPI, sums it up as far as where I'm coming from.
And how do you mean? What do you mean? It
I
sums up?
think that's make sure that they do the right thing. They keep an eye on things. Yeah.
Sorry, can I just, whereabouts is the reference to the KPI?
The third bullet point, Commissioner, in the recommendation.
Thank you.
Now, I might just take you through this paper as well in a little bit of detail. If I just take you to the foot of the page, it notes that from 1984 to 2002, GIs, which are government inspectors, casino operation government inspectors, were rostered to work at the casino 24/7, 365 days a year.
Yep.
If we then turn to the next page, please. So the first full sentence on that page is that within that period, there was also a defined and articulated change in the approach to regulation at the casino with a move from hands-on involvement in processes to a more audit-based approach to regulation. See that?
Yes.
And then I'll just ask you to read the next paragraph to yourself.
Yes.
Now, just my juniors just asked me to check, is that size of the print okay? Because we can actually
No,
bring
that's
it
fine.
down a bit more.
No, it's fine.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
And
Just,
then
just on that one, I think,
Yes.
we would have made a decision on that because it has been adopted by other regulators throughout Australia. So we're not out on a limb here, we're following a trend.
And what trend are you following?
Oh, not reinventing the wheel. Someone else has sorted it out, other regulators on other side of the country, I'd say.
So in respect of that sentence, in respect of that paragraph, you're identifying the approach that's being followed as the one identified in that paragraph, so a risk-based audit approach. Is that the one that you're saying is being followed? That's just reading from that paragraph.
That has been adopted by other regulators throughout Australia. Yeah, so other people have adopted it. Yeah, so it must be all right. You go along with the flow. I've always done that in my life.
And then in the middle of the page, there's the sentence, I see the functions conducted by the Strategic Regulation Division as being extremely important in informing decisions about the allocation of scarce resources, managing risk and maintaining the integrity of casino gaming operation. Do you see that? And then there's a discussion 2 paragraphs down about the current situation. Just read that to yourself. Beginning inspectors have not worked.
You mean the inspectors have not worked 24/7 at the casino
Yes.
since '02?
Yes. Yes. Just read that paragraph to yourself.
Yeah, I don't know what you're getting at there.
Oh, well, just to assist you to refresh your memory about the position that it
Yeah,
was.
okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then, turning to the next page, page 19. You can go to the third last paragraph and perhaps just read that paragraph.
Yes.
Can I just ask you, the reference there to they will not be allocated on the roster to any specific functional area, did you understand that to mean, or was it perhaps? Did you understand that to mean that the inspectors would not be limited to the casino, but that they could be deployed by the department across all of the areas that the department regulated?
Yes. Yeah.
And the department also regulated liquor. Is that correct? Is that your understanding?
Yeah. Yes.
So did you understand that when the inspectors were being taken off dedicated casino inspection
Yes.
and put onto the general roster, that would mean they could be called on to act as inspectors in respect of casinos, but also in respect of liquor?
I can't say it.
No. So what did you understand that the change to be?
In all areas, I thought that would mean that, for example, they might be involved in the high roller area. They could be involved with the pokies, the gaming machines, or they could be involved with the two-up, or just, different areas of different aspects of the gaming.
So your understanding was that they would not be any specific functional area, but would still be limited to being gaming
Yes.
inspectors. So then if I can ask you to turn to page 20 and the second paragraph. Can you read the second paragraph to yourself, please? So having read that, do you still understand that the casino inspectors were only going to be used for gaming functions, or do you?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I'll just ask you to turn over the page to page 21. Sorry, this is... I'll just ask you to read the section under consultation and summary, and then I'll ask you some questions about that.
Yep.
So I note in the third paragraph there's a statement that inspectors have expressed concerns relating to the proposal and to what they see as a reduction in the level of surveillance and monitoring of casino gaming operations. So on the one hand, there's an expression of concern from inspectors about reducing the level of surveillance. And then I note at the end of the second paragraph under summary, there's a statement by Michael Connolly, who's the author of this, that this change will not, in my view, have any material or significant impact on the level of assurance provided to the Commission relating to casino gaming operations, or will it have an adverse impact on the integrity or fairness of casino gaming? Do you see that?
Yes.
So, in a sense, to accept there was a tension between what the casino inspectors thought about this proposed change and what Michael Connolly saw as the consequence of this proposed change? In the sense that the inspectors were concerned about this change, whereas Michael Connolly was advising that he was comfortable this change wouldn't lead to a decrease in...
Yeah, well, we supported Michael to the hilt on that, yeah.
So was there a discussion at the meeting considering this item about Michael's view?
No, I don't think there was. I can't recall anything, being any tension between them, no.
No, but was there a discussion at the board meeting about the fact that on the one hand, inspectors are expressing concern about the proposed change, whereas Michael Connolly's advice was that the quality of the surveillance or regulation would still be the same?
Yeah, no, I can't recall anything there.
And just under the first paragraph summary, there's a statement, the second sentence, the breakdown of these activities will be articulated with an additional paper presented to the Commission relating to key performance indicators. And so was the process of producing key performance indicators that the department would generate the key performance indicators and present them to the Commission, or did the Commission set key performance indicators?
No, I can't answer that, don't know.
Okay. I'll just draw your attention, but I won't ask you a question about it yet, but just to note that the third paragraph under heading summary is there are considerable advantages for the department in maintaining a generic roster for inspectors beyond just reducing costs. And just note there's a reference there to reducing costs for the department. I'll leave that document there. So before we go to the next document, I'll ask the Commission to mark for identification GWC 0002 00160155 at pages 17 to 25.
Thank you. Can I see the front page of that before we move on from it?
No, the page 17, please.
Thank you. That document with the number identified by Mr Sharp will be marked for identification.
Can we then call up GWC 000200160156? So these are the GWC minutes for the meeting on the 25th of August 2015. Do you see that?
Yes.
Yes. Please go to page 2. Just ask you to look at the last paragraph. The statement, the department is under considerable pressure to operate within its salary limit, and the deputy chairman advised that as one measure, the inspectorate rosters will be amended to reduce the shift penalties and other payments. You see that?
Yes, yeah.
And so in the previous document, I drew your attention to a reference to cost savings to the department, and I note there's also a reference to cost savings to the department in this, which is being achieved by amending rosters to reduce shift penalties and other payments. Do you accept that that's what's being said here?
Yes.
And when this was discussed, was there discussion of the cost saving to the department at the meeting?
No, I can't recall discussing this cost saving. No, can't recall it.
Okay. And so just turning over the page, going to the next page, please. Page 3. So just note in that, which is the same resolution as we saw earlier, that the resolution is to endorse the proposal to remove a dedicated inspectorial presence for 20.5 hours a day from the first available date from the 1st of September 2015. So just note that the date on which the reduction in the inspectorial presence was going to happen was from the 1st of September 2015. So that, Commissioners, I'd ask that GWC 000200160156, the GWC minutes of the 25th of August 2015 be marked for identification.
Those minutes with that number will be marked for identification.
So the next document we're going to go to is the annual report for 2015-2016. Keeping in mind that the date on which that change to the inspection regime was to take effect was the 1st of September 2015. So that would be included in the 2015-2016 financial year.
Yes.
So can we call up? Yeah, that's exactly. So for the transcript, it's PUB 000200010588, and that's the Gaming and Wagering Commission of Western Australia annual report.
Yes.
Please go to page 648. So this is headed Detailed Information in Support of Key Performance Indicators, Agency Level, Government Desired Outcomes and Key Effectiveness Indicators. It refers to the desired outcome being to regulate and maintain the integrity of lawful gambling activities. I'll just draw attention to a couple of sentences, a couple of paragraphs down. It's designed to achieve a comprehensive legislative framework that operates within the state with the aim of preventing criminal interest from operating gaming and wagering activities and maintaining the integrity of lawful gaming and wagering activities within a framework that minimises harm. See those?
Yes.
So this is the measurement of how these are the KPIs to measure how that framework is achieved. So can it then turn to page 650. Just draw your attention to the third and fourth rows. The total cost of monitoring integrity of casino gaming operations and the total cost of unlawful gambling detected. Now note the next column across 2015-16 target is the cost allocated.
Yes.
So there's $1 million, $1,060,903 allocated in for 2015-16 for the total cost of monitoring the integrity of casino gaming operations. And then the actual cost for 2015-16 is set out a couple of columns across as $1,057,088. So it's really fractionally less than the target,
yes.
Only a few thousand less. And then in the row below, the total cost of unlawful gambling detected, allocated cost is $1,591,355, and the actual cost is $1,585,632, which is just once again fractionally less than was allocated. Given that the amount that was allocated for those targets would have been, or do you accept that the amount that was allocated for those targets would have been allocated before the change was made to the way the inspectors' rosters operated on the 1st of September 2015? The target would have been set in the previous financial year?
Yes, I think it would have been, yeah.
And then the allocated cost for those activities is only very slightly less than the cost that was forecast, even though there's been a change in the way that the inspections are actually organised to reduce costs. So do you understand how it was in the end that despite the reduction in inspections and the change to the roster to reduce costs, the actual cost that's been recorded for those activities is essentially the same as the cost that was forecast?
Yeah, it just seems a coincidence, doesn't it?
Mm.
It does, yeah.
So it's difficult. You're not able to really explain how that...
No, I can't explain. So one thing I will put in there is,
Yeah, sure.
I've written in my diary, we did a casino visit on the 24th of November of 2015. So it's in that year.
Mm.
And we did a fairly good tour of the security system in the casino, and to see what was happening and how it worked. So to me, that linked in with the cutting the hours back on the inspectors.
So,
in a way of surveillance.
So what was the purpose of that trip to the casino?
Just to see the surveillance side of it.
Turning back to the annual report, if we can then go to page 63. And turning attention to the bottom table at the bottom of the page, once again, looking at services, looking at under operating expenses, services provided by DRGL, it states 2015-16 target was $4,643,760, and that the actual services provided were $4,643,760, so it's identical. So the target or the target which has been set then ends up being the same as the actual.
Yeah, I can't answer that.
So if I can just put the proposition to you that you'd expect, given the reduction in the casino inspections, that the actual should be less than the target.
I'd agree.
And there was not an explanation for why
No.
the services were charged at the same rate. Commissioners, I tender that annual report with the ID number PUB 0002 001 0651.
The annual report for 2015-16 of the Gaming and Wagering Commission with that number will be an exhibit.
Oh, I'm sorry, my juniors just pointed out to me that I've read out the wrong number. The correct, there's an issue with the numbering. The correct number is PUB 0002 001 0588.
Thank
Sorry.
you.
If we then turn to GWC 0002 00 160225. This is this is the agenda pack for 22 August 2017. Can we please turn to page 13? So this is the agenda item 5.2 dated the 10th of August 2017, titled Compliance Review. The recommendation in this is simply that the Commission note the report. But I just wanted to take you through this just to ask about how the department was providing compliance services to the GWC at this time. So if we can scroll down, maybe just enlarge the page from at the bottom of the page. Right. So just ask you to read the paragraph beginning the environment and then the paragraph after that.
Yes.
And then if we can go to the next page, please. And just zoom out the first paragraph, or pop out the first paragraph. So just read that paragraph to yourself.
Yes, I remember that.
And then if we go down, so you can go back to the full page and then pop out the second last paragraph about KPIs. And just read that to yourself as well.
Yes.
And then over the page, please, the next page. Zoom out the first paragraph.
Yes.
And then go back to the full page and zoom out the section starting with timing, section headed timing.
Yes, complete.
Just ask you to read that to yourself as well.
Yes.
So the question that I wanted to ask you arising from that is that when it came to identifying KPIs, was that process of identifying KPIs being performed by the department rather than by the GWC? Is that
Yes.
how it was working?
Yes.
And so far as there's a discussion of a risk-based approach to compliance, licensing and compliance, who was identifying the risks for the purpose of, or assessing what the risks were for the purpose of the risk-based approach?
It would have been Michael Connolly.
Michael Connolly. So it was not the GWC that was identifying the risks, it was...
Michael would have been putting them to the GWC, yeah.
Commissioners, a mark for identification, GWC 0002 00160225 at pages 13 to 15.
The compliance review agenda paper with that number will be an exhibit or marked for identification?
Marked for identification,
Will
sorry.
be marked for identification.
And if we then turn to the minutes that considered, that relate to that agenda item, that's a call up GWC 0002 00160211. So these are the minutes for the meeting on the 22nd of August 2017. And then if we can turn to page 2. So I note at 5.2, just ask you to read that to yourself.
Yes.
So do you recall if there was a discussion about that compliance review at that meeting?
I think it was very brief. Very brief discussion. Yeah. And we were waiting to see what happens with the outcomes of it.
I just note, while we're on that page, at the foot of the page, there's a reference to a presentation being made by Crown
Yes.
regarding Crown employees in China. Was this a presentation that was made at that meeting on the 22nd of August 2017?
There was a presentation made by Mr. Joshua Preston, but I suppose it was at that meeting it's written there, but I can recall him making the statement about the people in China and, yeah.
And was it a matter for concern for the GWC that Crown employees had been arrested in China?
It was sort of out of our hands. It was a concern, but it was something that we couldn't do anything about. We just had to wait for the next outcome.
And was there a concern for you about sorry, I'll step back. Did you perceive across the time that you were on the board that there was a gradual decrease in the resourcing that was being dedicated to casino inspections?
No.
No. And did the risk-based approach that was being developed, including the removal of the dedicated inspectors, cause you any concern about whether the quality of the oversight of the Perth Casino was diminishing over the time you were on the board?
No, not at all.
Commissioners, I'll ask that those minutes be marked for identification.
Before that document goes down, there's a question I wanted to ask about a statement in it, and it might be useful for me to ask the question whilst the document's in front of you, Mr. Fisher. So the second last paragraph, Mr. Preston provided an overview. Mr. Preston advised the Commission that Crown regularly assess the risks relating to their operations in China and compliance with Chinese laws. And it was the last sentence in particular I wanted to ask you. The arrest of staff was unexpected and represented a shift in the application of laws by the Chinese authorities. Do you believe that that's an accurate statement of what he told the GWC?
No, I don't think it is.
So what do you recollect he told the GWC?
I can't recall him saying anything about their operations in China until this came up.
Right. And when it did come up and he came to speak to you, to speak to the GWC about the arrests, do you recall what he told you about them, about why they had occurred?
No, I can't recall.
Thank you. Could we just go over to the next page just to see if there's anything more that... Would you read that top paragraph? Do you recall anything to that effect being said?
No, I can't.
Right, thank you. So the minutes of the meeting of 22 August 2017 will be marked for identification.
We'll turn then to a different topic, which is the topic of conflicts of interest. Call up GWC 000200160122. So this is the agenda pack for the 25th of November 2014. Do you see that?
Yes.
And please go to page 173. So this is a agenda item concerning a code of conduct, and the recommendation you'll see is that the Commission endorse the draft Gaming and Wagering Commission Code of Conduct. Do you see that?
Yes.
And if we then go to the minutes for that meeting, GWC 00020160120. Do you see those are the minutes of the 25th of
14.
November 14? Yes. And if we go to page 4, please. You can see it, item 10.3. The GWC resolved to endorse the draft Gaming and Wagering Code of Conduct.
Yes.
Commissioners, I'll mark that for identification, those minutes.
Those minutes with the number you have identified will be marked for identification.
If we can then turn back to the agenda, so this is 000200160122. Go back to page 173. And if we can turn to page 181. Actually, sorry, stay there for a moment. Sorry, go back to that page, please. So just to put where I'm about to take you in context, you'll see that the second paragraph says that a code of conduct has been drafted for the Gaming and Wagering Commission based on guidelines provided by the Public Sector Commission, and that's at attachment 3. Do you see that?
Yes.
Yes. So if we can go to attachment 3, which is at page 181. So this is the code of conduct. Do you agree that that's the code of conduct?
Yes, I can see that.
Yes. Now, can we just scroll through that document until we get to page 189? So before I take you to the specific paragraph, so do you accept that this is the code of conduct which came into effect in 2014, which was adopted in 2014?
Yes.
Yes. If we go down to can you bring up the next page at the same time, page 190 at the same time? Draw your attention to the foot of the first page, page 189, where it's agreed that as members of the Commission, we will, and then draw your attention to the top of page 190, and I'll just get you to pop out the first dash and the 2 bullet points below. So I'll just ask you to read that.
Yes.
And so you agree that that obligation to not accept gifts, benefits or hospitality in those circumstances applied to commissioners from 2014 onwards?
Oh, yes.
Yes. Commissioners, are marked for identification GWC 000200160122 from pages 173 to 234.
Right, that document with those numbers will be marked for identification.
Please call up GWC 000200160203. So these are the minutes of the 28th of February 2017. Do you agree?
Yes.
And I notice at the foot of the page there's a heading registration of gifts and hospitality, and it's indicated there that members Colin Hayward, Mr. Andrew Duckworth and Mr. Trevor Fisher declared their attendance at the opening of Crown Towers Hotel on the 14th of December 2016.
Yes, we did.
And under what circumstances did you attend? Were you invited?
We were invited guests.
And was the invitation extended to all members of the GWC?
I can't answer that. No, I don't know whether it was or not.
And was there any discussion when the declaration of attendance at the Crown Towers hotel opening was made around how that fit in with the code of conduct?
No.
And did you consider that in attending the opening you were acting consistently with the code of conduct?
Yes, I didn't think it was anything out of the ordinary. Bearing in mind we'd been to 2016, we did a tour of the hotel and saw where the gaming side of it was happening, where the high rollers were. That was December 2016. 2017 we'd had a meeting there too. October the 24th in 17 I'd been to a problem gambling meeting at the Burswood. So, you know, I'd been there a few times on GWC business. So this was just on representing the GWC, I thought.
No further questions. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. Ms Seawood, do you have any questions?
Just briefly, thank you, Commissioner. Mr Fisher, I just wanted to ask you some questions about how the meetings at the GWC operated. As I understand things, the departmental officers would prepare the briefing packs for you, is that correct?
Yes.
And then would it be the Commissioner's job to read those beforehand?
Yes.
And then there would be some discussion about each of the items on the agenda at the meeting?
Yes.
And is it fair to say that it was then the Commission members then needed to make a decision in relation to each of the matters?
Oh, yes. Yep.
And you understood that you didn't need to do exactly what was recommended by the department if the Commission felt there should be a different outcome?
Oh, I totally understood that, yes.
And is it also the case that some of the agenda items each month on the meetings were concerned with providing the Commission with an update on the activities that the departmental officers had undertaken in the last month on behalf of the Commission?
Yes.
For example, there was like an audit and inspections report of the audits and inspections that had occurred the previous month.
Yes. Yeah.
And there'd be information on, in terms of the casino gaming activity in the previous month.
And the disorderly conduct and all those sort of things. Is that what you mean?
Yes. So
Yes.
you were provided with information that would enable you as a Commission member to see what activities the departmental officers had, in a general sense, been doing
Yes.
for the last month before then.
Yep.
Okay. And during the meetings, if any of the Commission members had any questions about any of the papers or any of the matters that were before the Commission, were the members able to ask questions of any of the departmental officers that were present?
Oh, yes, definitely.
And if those officers couldn't answer the questions, on some cases, would those questions be taken away on notice and information provided at a later meeting?
Yes.
No further questions, thank you.
Yes, Mr Maloney.
No questions, thank you, Commissioner.
Mr Russell.
No questions, thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. And Mr Sadler.
Thank you, Commissioner. Mr Fisher, just to confirm, at your witness statement at paragraph 3 on the question of training,
Excuse me, would you repeat that question?
of course, yeah, sorry, paragraph 3 of your witness statement, you talk about training, and you say there, we visited Crown to see
Yes.
surveillance, and at the end there, we didn't receive any formal training as part of it. What did you do if you had questions during the meetings about technical topics or topics about legislation or questions arising
From a monthly meeting?
for a GWC monthly meeting?
Questions to who?
Your own questions about what was raised
Oh, I'd address the chair and ask a question.
and generally answered the questions that were generally answered for you.
Oh, yes.
You say at paragraph 6, the meetings took 1 to 2 hours, and about 60% of the meetings covered casino business, depending on whether the gaming machine displays for approval. What would your assessment be of the percentage if there wasn't gaming machines for demonstration for an approval?
Approving race meetings, approving lotto permits, TAB. A lot of applications came through for TAB new facilities.
Yes.
As I mentioned before, you know, we actually used to call members of the casino in, the employees, because they'd done something wrong, and they would have to come and address the commission to say why they shouldn't be suspended or fined or just cautioned. Yeah.
So in percentage terms, if no new games? So in percentage terms, how much did casino business take up in a meeting if there were no new games?
Well, it varied a lot.
Very well, okay.
Because, you know, in some of the minutes that we've seen here today, there would be a delegation from Crown would come and we might see 2 or 3 machines. Also, there would be demonstrations of the actual machines at, I can't recall them back near when they moved, but in the Hyatt building, there was quite regularly casino machines at the back, and we'd have a demonstration.
Okay.
So and that took time.
Your shown document GWC 0002 0016 0150, which is the agenda for the 23rd of June 2015, and specifically a paper which is agenda item 6.3, which I think is on roughly around page 50, 55 or something like that. Actually, that would be useful. We'll stay on that page. See at the bottom there, it says what the department will do. So this is the new strategy that they're bringing in. Do you recall being shown this document? We can go to the front to refresh your memory if you'd like.
Elements of the casino gaming operation. No, I can't recall that.
Okay, we'll go back to, let me get the right page for you. Page 57, yes, that's good. So this is a paper to orientate you, 17 June 2015, meeting Casino Compliance Strategy 2015-2016. And you're asked a few questions about this.
No, I can't recall it.
Okay. Let's skip forward to page 58 then. And at the bottom of that page, it's explaining what the department will do to put into effect this new strategy, so to speak. And then over the page, you've got a few headings. Put those side by side. Casino table games, electronic gaming machines, casino revenue and tax and surveillance. Now, in your witness statement at 6, you talk about, paragraph 3, you talk about how you visited the Perth casino to look at the new surveillance that they put in, or surveillance, I should misspeak your statement. And I believe you said that was to inspect the surveillance systems that they were putting in. Was there any particular reason for that trip, do you recall?
It was a link into cutting the hours back.
Yes.
On the inspectors.
Yes.
And it was just to show how good the surveillance was for the general public, as well as keeping an eye on over each table to make sure that everything was okay.
And just looking back at the page that you have up on the screen there, you have a number of headings, so casino table games, electronic gaming machines, casino revenue and tax and surveillance, and then the security as well down the bottom there. Now the proposition's been put by another witness to the Commission that the casino was a mature product, in that the casino table games, the electronic gaming machines, and really the revenue, the system of checking the revenue through the chip count and those matters were known entities, known to the GWC, and haven't changed over time. Is that your experience from your time on the GWC, that the casino was a mature product, known to the GWC? The casino table games had largely been the same. The electronic gaming machines had, apart from changing the face of them, had been the same.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that
Yeah,
proposition?
yeah, they're pretty well the same, yeah.
Would you agree that the surveillance has changed, though, over time, that you were there and had got better?
I'd agree with that, yes.
I think that's all. Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, Mr. Fisher.
Thank you.
No questions for me, thank you.
Mr. Fisher, I have a few questions for you. You were asked questions by Mr. Sharp about the role of the GWC. What did you understand the role of the GWC, the Gaming and Wagering Commission, to be?
To be the big daddy, to look over the casino and keep things in order, to make sure that it ran as a good public facility in accordance with all the rules and regulations that have been set down for when it was first started.
And how did the GWC do that?
Through the monthly meetings, through information given to us on the trends of what was happening each month. And relying on reports from, i.e. Michael Connolly, and through the chair with Barry Sargent.
So that was actually going to be my next question. If you relied on information provided to you, who was it primarily who gave you that information?
Yeah, those two gentlemen, yeah.
And did you have an understanding of whether the GWC had delegated to either or both of those people, or the people in their positions, the powers of the GWC?
In what way do you mean a delegation?
I'll give you an example. Were you aware that there was something called the Casino Operations Manual or something like that? Did you understand, what did you understand about Mr. Connolly's or Mr. Sargent's powers as Director General to make changes to the Casino Operations Manual?
I always thought that they would bring, if there was going to be changes to the manual, they would bring it to a monthly meeting, and it would be in the minutes and then come through to the commissioners that way.
Before the change was made or after the change was made?
No, before, yeah.
And that would be for the approval of
Yes,
GWC?
yeah.
And were you aware there was also things called the directions, the Burswood Casino directions?
No.
You were shown documents relating to the decision to remove inspectors from the floor of the casino, and there were references in that document and in a later document of the 25th of August 2015 to the regulatory approach being consistent with a risk-based audit approach to regulation. Now, my understanding, and correct me if you have a different understanding, that in order to have a risk-based approach to regulation, you've got to do risk assessments to decide what your risks
Yes.
are. Did you, did the department present to GWC risk assessments, either for noting or for approval, of what the risks were in the regulating that had to be regulated?
No, I can't recall anything down that line, no.
And if they were, would you agree that we should be able to examine the agenda papers and
Yes.
find them?
Yeah, yes.
When the paper was presented to you and the proposal was put to the GWC for the removal of inspectors from the floor, did it occur to you that maybe we should get independent advice about the best way to regulate the casino?
No, I trusted the report that we had from Michael.
So when he said in that report that this was the way other Australian jurisdictions were doing it,
Yes,
you accepted
Yes.
that and thought that that meant that that was a good way for
Yes.
WA to go to?
I always found the reports that Michael gave were thorough, and he didn't beat around the bush. He always, to me, he went straight to the point and didn't muck around, and I always admired that side of it, and I thought that's why I always trusted his opinion.
You were asked some questions about the charge, I'll refer to it as a charge that the department made to GWC for the services that the department provided. Was it your understanding at the time you were on the GWC that that is what happened? That is that the department provided services
Yes,
to the GWC, and that the GWC had an income which it received from, at least in part, from the licence fee
Yep.
which the casino paid. Further, that then the department charged GWC for the value of the services it provided to the GWC, and that the GWC paid those charges out of its income.
yes.
And did you understand that the department charged the GWC for all the services it provided, or only some of them?
I thought it was for all.
In relation to the China arrests, you said that it was of a concern, but you didn't feel that what could the GWC do about it, so to speak. Can I just ask you a couple of questions about that? If you can cast your mind back to the time, I know it's difficult. What did you understand about why those arrests had taken place?
I thought, and I might be entirely wrong here, I thought it because they were soliciting people to come to here to gamble.
And so in terms of whether there was anything you could do about that, did you understand that the GWC had the power to make regulations about junkets?
No, I didn't. No.
So if you didn't know that, am I right in assuming that it didn't occur to you, well, we could in fact prohibit them bringing groups of people from China?
Yeah, no, I didn't realise that we could stop them. No.
Did you realise that the casino could only grant credit or lines of finance to international gamblers with the GWC's consent?
Yes.
Did it
I
occur
would-
to you that you could have changed the rules in relation to that in order to...
If I could have,
Stop.
I would have. I could never understand why that was allowed. And it was a large amount of money too.
And why did you think you couldn't do anything about it?
Because it had been in the system for so long.
And finally, in relation to the problem gambling committee, you mentioned that you yourself had gone to a meeting at the casino about problem gambling
It was a general meeting
of
problem gambling, yes.
the committee.
No, we were just invited to go as representatives of the GWC, but it was a general meeting. It was in one of the big rooms. It was more of a social meeting, and there was I cannot remember the lady's name, but she was from the East Coast somewhere giving a presentation of problem gambling, and there would have been 60, 70, 80 people there.
What did you understand, if anything, of the GWC's role in relation to minimising harm from problem gambling?
There was money allocated for sessions of helping people, and yeah, well, the GWC was concerned with that aspect of it a lot.
And in terms of that money, what was your understanding as to where that money came from?
No, I just thought it came out of just general revenue from the GWC.
I think that's all that I wanted to ask you, Mr. Fisher, but I'll just check my notes. Did you, whilst you're on the commission, did you feel that it had sufficient funds to perform its
Yes.
duties?
Yeah, yes.
And there was one other matter, just really to make sure that I understand what your evidence is. In answer to Mr. Sharp, did you say that you did not think that the casino had a role in preventing... Sorry, start again. You did not think that the GWC had a role in preventing money laundering at the casino?
No, I thought it was a government control somewhere along the line rather than a GWC.
And similarly, am I right in believing that you did not think that the GWC had a role in preventing infiltration of the casino by criminals?
you rephrase that again?
That you did not think that the Commission had a role in preventing the infiltration of the casino and casino gaming by criminals. And I think, in fairness to you, perhaps before you answer that, I'm not talking here about what happened by way of licensing employees. That was one way that, in fact, the GWC, it would seem, did try and prevent criminals from being involved in gaming at the casino. I'm talking about in other ways.
Yeah, I don't know how to answer that. I'm certainly totally against anything like that, the criminal activity in the thing, and I always have been.
Of course, I'm not suggesting otherwise, Mr. Fisher. Don't worry, I'm not. But I'm just trying to tease out whether you thought that apart from licensing employees and doing the audits and making sure that the employees were conducting the games according to the rules.
Yes.
Did you think that the casino had any other? Sorry, I shouldn't say the casino. Do you think that the Commission had any other role in preventing criminal activity?
Oh yes, I think we did. Yeah.
And in what way and what sort of activity?
Well, if it was brought to our attention, we would have jumped on it. Just outside of the Bears, it came to our attention that there was gambling going on over the road virtually from the casino a couple of times, and we had police go and bust them open, and then they were apprehended. Is that what you mean, that down that line? And to me, that's criminal.
Yeah, that's criminal activity.
Yeah.
Can I just ask you about, say, for another form, going back to money laundering? We accept that that's a criminal activity.
Yes, definitely.
So if in casino inspectors saw that in the books of the casino, would you think that the GWC would have a role in reporting that to another law enforcement body or to a law enforcement body?
Yes.
And did you ever turn your mind to whether the casino inspectors should be directed to do audits, for example, of the bank accounts of the casino to see whether that was happening?
No, I never entered my mind down that line.
Thank you. Is there anything arising from those questions, Mr. Sharp?
Perhaps one thing, and just one other point, I needed to deal with the last document that I referred to, but I didn't, so that I just asked that GWC 000200160203, which is the GWC minutes of the 28th of February 2017, be marked for identification.
They will be marked.
Mr. Fisher, just wanted to pick up on the answer that you gave to the Commissioner regarding money laundering, and you said that, I hope I'm getting this an accurate statement of your answer, but that it wasn't for the GWC to look into, but it was a matter for government control. And when you're referring to government control, do you have a specific part of the government or in mind when you're saying government control? Or simply just not that it was within the GWC's remit? To put it another way, who do you think would be responsible for money laundering?
It's a federal government problem. There's someone in the federal government, there's Austrac or someone like that, should be jumping on it.
And in the time that you were on the Commission, did the Commission have any interactions with Austrac?
No, not that I know of.
And didn't have any memorandum of understanding with Austrac about money laundering?
No.
Further questions?
Thank you, Mr. Sharp. Any questions?
No, thank you.
Mr. Malone?
No,
Ms. Frisky?
thank you.
Mr. Fisher, thank you very much for coming along today and giving your evidence. It has been most helpful. As I said to you, I will now explain to you the process from here on. As you can see, there are only two of us sitting today, Mr. Murphy and myself. Commissioner Owen is sitting in another room hearing the evidence from another witness. Because he's not had the opportunity to hear your evidence, he will review it over the next few days, either by reading the transcript or it's recorded so he can watch the audio-visual recording of your evidence. He may have some questions, just like I had some questions. He may have some questions that he wants to put to you. If so, they will be reduced to writing and they will be sent to you and you will be asked to answer them. And because you are still under the obligations of your summons, two things will occur. Either you will answer the questions and that will be it, and we will then release you from the summons.
Yes.
Or alternatively, if you fail to answer the questions, then you will be required to come back here and do it
Okay.
orally. So in either case or in the other case that you aren't going, that no questions are required to be answered, you will be advised of what's going to happen shortly, and it may well be that if no questions are going to be put to you, then you will be told you're released from your summons.
Okay.
Is there anything you want to ask about that process?
No, just as I live in Busselton, do I go home?
You certainly can go home.
Please.
Yes, I'm not stopping you from going home at all. We're not stopping you from going home. So for the time being, you go about your ordinary business.
Okay, thank you.
But we will contact you as we have in the past if we need you to answer some more questions.
Totally understand.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Council. The Commission will now adjourn till 10 a.m. tomorrow morning.